Ironside will not be seen tonight, so we may bring you the following special program.
Every part of comics and artwork is a form of communication with other people. It's not just here, let me direct my thoughts at you as a dictation of concept, but it's hoping to convince you of how cool you think a visual could be or a story could be. And you're trying to communicate ideas in one part storytelling and greater part just graphic impact. You're hoping to relate a sense of energy, urgency, and enthusiasm to people, that there's a lightning of spirit that comes out of superheroes that has always worked for me, that it isn't really about the practicality of what they might do, it's not the practicality about grown men punching each other in costumes. It really isn't about that. It's a visual metaphor, and that metaphor could be for a lot of things, but it's mostly just about the energy and enthusiasm that can be found in the fun of life.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic conversation show, as I break that into two words. John Sanchez here. I'm happy to welcome Scotty Young back to Word Balloon. Scotty, I figured out why it's been so long.
Why? Why has it been so long?
Because you did great stuff for us for Baltimore,
right?
And also one of the other mainframe Comic-Con things,
right?
And literally in both cases, it's like, well, you and I recorded, I think, or no, you sent your great tribute to Mike and everything to Ringo.
Yeah.
But I know that at one point, one of our other partners is like, "Can I please talk to Scotty Young?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." You know, I look forward to talking to Scotty, but yeah. I'm like, you know, I mean, and you know me, dude. My size shows that I'm a kid in a candy store. If I could do every interview, I would.
Oh yeah, man.
I would doing them as much as
doing interviews with you, it feels great because whether or not it's been a long time or no time, it always just feels like it was just a couple days ago. We've known each other for so long at this point. I'm like, hey, when's the last time I talked to John? Yesterday or 5 years ago? I don't know, but it always feels the same.
You weren't at C2E2, were you? And I don't blame you because cooties, but you know.
No, you know, we're still kind of gauging all that kind of stuff going on, and December's just it's a tough time with the kids and all the holiday stuff going on to you know, basically cancel out a good 5-6 days. You know what I mean? So yeah. We just we're still pausing it for a little bit and seeing what 2022 has to offer, which seems to be a gamble at the moment. I know.
Yeah, I know. Is it your birthday or was it recently?
Nope.
Okay, well, maybe she
is it your birthday? That's what I was wondering. Is it your birthday?
It's a month ago, but thank you very much, Sarah. Very nice.
Yeah, mine just comes up. Mine's in March.
Okay, very cool. I was a March celebration because my parents were both Pisces.
Right, there you go.
We're like, and you know, 9 months later, so I'm like, yeah, you don't have to do the math. All right, we get it. We absolutely get it. Oh, I see. It's you know whose birthday it is? It's Len's birthday, the Englishman in San Diego.
Oh, word
up. There you go. Oh, that's nice, man.
Yeah, he's great.
Very nice.
He's a huge, awesome supporter, and always like hearing from him. So happy birthday.
That's cool, man. Yes, and he thanks Sarah. That's very cool, man. Always good, Len. And you're kicking ass on your podcast, so I'm always happy to see when you show up for my shit, and you'll be doing that on a delay. Well, Scotty, you got a lot of shit going on. Among things, and we already saw, I think, a sneak of it as far as your Substack, bringing back Fairyland, obviously. Yep. And I mean, officially, and then also for the Substack people, I'm assuming they're getting it first, and you're doing like Untold Tales of Fairyland, right?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of everything. And the fun thing about the Substack is we're playing it like really fast and loose and adding things and switching ideas up. But yeah, right now we've been bringing people Untold Tales of, which is short stories that kind of happen between the raindrops of my first 20 issues. And it's just my chance to really reach out to all the awesomely talented pals of mine and just say, hey, you guys want to come and play over in my sandbox for a little bit without, I mean, literally it's, you want 1 page, you want 10 pages, just somewhere between 1 and 10 pages. And it's been so fun to see all these talented people embrace my weird, wacky world and see what they've been bringing to the table. So yeah, that's what we've been doing so far with that. And it's been a blast.
Excellent, man. Yeah. And then April comes back to Image with a new series.
It's going to be definitely a little later than April. Like okay. What we're doing with the Untold Tales right now is just publishing them at least once a month. I've got a bunch of them coming back in. So once I have a big stock, I'll start doing them a little quicker. We're cooking up some other plans for kind of like a prologue situation that might go on the Substack. And then it's probably going to be either summer or early fall, where we launch the ongoing series and bringing that back. So that we're really, really excited about that.
What is the name of your Substack again?
It's Stupid Fresh Mess. It's the name of that's my company's name.
Very cool.
Stupid Fresh Mess. So we're expanding that branding. The company here where we ship out artwork and books and book plates and graphic novels and prints and stickers and the whole nine. And we do exclusive covers only through the store here now. And it's a whole operation here, John. So
I'm hip. No, honestly, and I know that in the last couple of years you have become even more entrepreneurial and really set up shop. And that's great, man. Seriously. Right. People love your art. People love hanging it on the wall. Yeah. I got it. I got old stuff that I'm going to show, man.
Yes.
This is ancient. Yeah. But in particular, with all the armor surrounding him, it's Tony sitting with the last poor Yorick pose and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I made you sketch that for me as well. It's on my wall. All right.
I'll give a quick bit of trivia that when I did this, in his hand there, in his right hand that's dangling, you could see the shape of his fingers. I originally had a bottle, like a bottle in that, but I wasn't thinking it was a kid's book. I'm not even thinking about it, so I'm drawing liquor bottles and stuff. But they caught me on that one, and so I had to get it out of there.
Honestly, it's really poetic. I get the liquor bottle, and that would have been poetic in its own way too. Right. But yes, this was Marvel Age.
Yeah, it was the Marvel Age or Marvel Adventures or something. It was one of those because I think it was like 2008 or 2009.
Ancient history. I realize that.
Yeah,
but truly, So I know one day on a sketch card, I'm like, dude, Tony doing the last point.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Excellent, man. But no, all right. So, like, is Substack? How's it going for you? I mean, again, beyond. What are you doing beyond the comics, or are you just doing the comics? What are you doing?
The interesting thing about Substack is once we launched the company at the end of 2019, one of the aspects was launching a newsletter, and I was treating that newsletter not just as a thing to announce, what our store, what new product launches we had at the store or what comics I had coming out, but I started using it as kind of a blog, the old school like Tumblrs and blog spots that we all used to use in the 2000s. Those have all been kind of either taken away or changed or bought up by somebody else. So I started, and I kind of missed that, or, we all kind of like went to Twitter and we all kind of went to Instagram, but man, I really missed that intimate way of communicating with, all my readers and fans and peers the way that we used to, which was long form essay style conversation pieces that we would put up, and it got over the years, it got boiled down to like, here's a little square image on our phone with, a couple sentences before it was a ... and, or in Twitter, obviously is just a garbage fire, right? Like you can't, that's become just something that's like so hard to manage and navigate. And you can't really get deep about something, right? So I started using the newsletter as a way to like talk about what's going on, not just with my work, but me and my friends or me and my family. And we started to build a nice little community. And along comes Substack, which is kind of a mixture between the two things. It's a really cool platform, it's taking the concept of a newsletter and giving you the platform of a blog, really, right? So a long form blog, so we can upload comics and podcasts and all different kinds of things. So yeah, for me, the comic part is great, but in a lot of ways, I just moved what I was already doing to a new platform, and added the comics. So I'm still posting, couple times a week about what's going on in life. You know, like today I posted about like getting back on my Peloton and getting back on my, you know, healthy eating, which I took a little bit of a longer break than I anticipated. I'm like, hey, I'm going to take a week. And that week turned into way too many weeks. So, but yeah, that's a good example of today of doing that. We're doing live streams. You know, we did our first official live stream. We did a couple tests, but last Wednesday we did our first official live stream, and you know, we ended up having about around 300 people come in and hang out, and it really was. I did a sketch, took some suggestions, did a sketch. We did a lot of giveaways. Tony Fleeks jumped on with us because we were giving away copies of Stray Dogs, the book I did. So yeah, hanging out for a while, and which that was awesome. Like that was really cool. So it's a little bit of everything. We're doing live streams. I'm doing exclusive videos and bonus content for my comics where I'm giving away, like for over the paywall, I give away a lot of old out of print art books. You know, I've got like 4 or 5, 6 different art books that are long out of print. And so I'm just giving away PDFs of that. So it's just a really cool way to connect with community, you know?
I do. And it's fun to see what everybody's doing differently and stuff. So that's awesome. And have you started podcasting? Are you podcasting as well?
The live stream last week went so well that, and a lot of the people loved, I mean, people liked watching the drawing, but everybody really dug just the conversation with me and Tony.
Yeah.
So there's part of me that wants to jump kind of back into that. And Casey's obviously always talking about doing something, but
yay.
Really what I've used that part of their platform for is on days where I don't really have a well thought out, like post to type out.
Sure.
But I just have some thoughts. So it's like, you know, when we launched the exclusive cover to Jim Ma Food's new Girl Scout series, I was too excited about it to like sit down and type it out. And so really what I wanted was everybody to hear my actual excitement. And so I just hit record and started babbling for 15 minutes about what Jim's book meant to me back in the day before I broke into the industry. So I'm using that platform a little bit more like that at the time right now, but we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, you're the podcast guru, man. It's been awesome to watch you doing this for so long.
Well, that's kind, but as I always like to point out, man, you're an OG podcaster yourself,
right?
And we were co-hosts once upon a time. So I appreciate the praise, but no, man, you've been, you know, I maybe 1 or 2 years on when you started. I think only one,
right?
Frankly, because I was 05, and I think you were on around comics by 06 or 07.
07, yeah, I came on right there at 07, right?
There you go. So yeah, man. But no, thank you. You're nice, but truly, I love this. Do you? I'm assuming you're going to say yes, but the things that Substack wants you to do to give you the grant money that they give and stuff like that, do you find it reasonable? Do you find it manageable?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, in a lot of ways, it's really just maintaining what I already was doing. And honestly, it got me excited to come and you know, I had comics planned out, but this platform, between the support of the readers, and I mean, it's a reader supported platform, between that and the grant, it's allowed us to really get something going. Like going out as soon as this all came together, that's when I started just reaching out to people like dream artists and dream cartoonists, where I'm like, let's use this and build up some really awesome material from, if you like Fairyland, how much would you like Fairyland if Gabrielle Ba and Fabio Moon did a story? You know, reaching out to buddies, some other buddies I can't announce yet, but, you know, and helping build up a team, behind the scenes team. You know, people realize sometimes how hard it is to really get editorial. Like if you read my scripts, I think the only person maybe that has more typos than me, and I'm not sure, we might be I've heard from an editor that we're tight in the race, is me and Bendis on how many typos are filled in our scripts. Literally, Nick Lowe once said, I think you might be giving Bendis a run for his money. But now, you know, I've been able to hire on an editorial team to come on and not only do the post, but help organize and edit all the comics that I'm doing, designers and letters and everything like that. So we have a really good team aboard. And, you know, same thing when we get to the live stream stuff, like having somebody off screen helping produce it. And that way I can draw and answer questions. So I think it's wildly manageable, if not kind of like, I can't believe this is happening. This is such a cool opportunity to just like make more comics and comic content surrounding the industry, not just pages.
I do know, and I think that's excellent, man. And I'm glad, and that's interesting because that's where I was going. I didn't want to be an accountant and look over your shoulder, but by the same token, I am curious if some of that money went to support staff, and that's what Stegman did. Stegman is doing that with his podcasts and everything, and so that's great.
Yeah, there was nothing about this that made me want to just take it and go buy cars, right? Like it is not, that's just not how I look at life. I mean, I make comics and then I try to put that money back into the same thing with the company here, right? Like we have a company and then we put more money back into the company and try to build it. And what I loved, what we're trying to do is look at this as a whole and be like, wow, you know what? This is exciting because we kind of can turn ourselves into mini publishing houses, where the only thing that has stopped us before is just the logistics. And now, like, if that's been helped out a little bit, I love giving new creators, and new's not the right word, but creators that haven't had a big stage to jump up on yet, or a bigger stage than what they might have been up on. I love reaching out to some of my friends that have done a little thing here or there, and to be like, hey, jump on this big stage and let's just show you off and let you dunk on everybody, right?
Totally.
Or, again, somebody like Gabrielle and Fabio who are on a huge stage, but are like, ooh, let me jump over here on this little side stage and have a blast for a minute before I go. They're always doing something so highbrow and amazing and awesome. I'm like, hey, come be juvenile with me for a week,
Absolutely. No, and I was showing her images earlier for the audio audience, letting them know. But absolutely, that came out in December from the Substack people. And as you say, is that going to be part of that prologue prior to starting the season?
So these short stories right now I'm keeping as just little short stories one after another. And right now we've published 3 of them on Substack so far. I've got about 15 ones in different various stages. I mean, that's the other thing now. I'm also on that side of like wrangling creators, which I've always been on the other side. Somebody's trying to wrangle me. And now I'm kind of like, hey, poking shoulders, like, how you guys doing over there? But we've got about 10 to 15 other stories kind of working. And then I've got a different prologue one working outside of that we're trying to figure out exactly where we want to put that, and a couple spin-off ideas of characters that I like. As I was like, man, they can't take main stage in the main book of I Hate Fairyland, but it'd be really cool to pop them out and give them their own title and take it to it. Because Fairyland is just such a free-for-all planet. It's just a world in which anything's possible. So I can do weird satire and parodies of almost anything I want, and all the wacky characters that we've created there.
Are you is your artist for season 2? You did everything for season 1, didn't you?
Yeah, all 20 issues were written by me, and I think I had each arc past the first arc, or I think I had 2 people come in and do the guts of a story, where I do the framing pages, like just to help give me some time to catch up. Sure. I just got creative with it, where I'd have Gert telling a story, and then I had Dean Rakeen, who's already had 2. He's done 2 of the stories on the Substack so far. He came in and did like a Larry story, and then Chamba, who's an amazing cartoonist from Canada. He's one of the genius Street Fighter artists. So once he said he was down, I actually wrote like a Street Fighter style Gert story that allowed him to come in and basically like do hit points and everything. But again, I would draw the framing stories. But yeah, that whole first 20 issues was very much me, which is part of the reason I had to pause it for a little bit, because that's so much work.
Yeah, man. So, but is Dean coming on then full time on season 2, or is it somebody else?
Well, not on season 2. Dean right now he's done 3 of. We've published 2 of them. We have 1 more in the bank of the Untold Tales.
Untold Tales, yeah.
Untold Tales, and then right now kicking it off, we've got Brett Parson, who's done a lot of Tank Girl stuff and 2000 AD stuff. I think he did a run on Eric Powell's Goon. So he's involved with the story right now, and we're cooking some more people up in the mix for sure.
And are they trying to do kind of an amalgam of their style and the way you draw Fairyland, or are you letting them do it totally?
I'm definitely encouraging. Like, don't use me as a template. It does not need to match. That would just be weird. I would feel like, I heard Mike Mignola talk about this before, where he always feels it's weird when he sees somebody draw a Hellboy that looks like he the way he draws Hellboy. Not that it's like, ooh, don't steal my style. It's not that. It's just like,
No.
It's weird. Like,
okay.
For me, like anytime that somebody's drawing a picture of Gert that comes back and it looks like kind of the way I draw, it's like, it's jarring. It's like a uncanny valley situation where I'm like, but then when the way that they like Gabriel and Fabio draw so awesome. Like, yeah. I'm just like, it looks nothing like mine, but the essence is there.
100%
is there, and it just blows my mind. And that, so I'm really encouraging on that way. I mean, and I'm very much like that whenever I'm working on books that whether it's The Be Love in the Dark or Middle West with Jorge, or Aaron Conley on Bully Wars. Bully Wars, I had a bunch of designs done before, and I showed him to Aaron to see what I had in my head, but then instructed him, do not follow these. Like, you do your voice. And Jorge, to his credit, was like, anything, just type out descriptions of things, but don't send me any drawings, because if you send me drawings, I won't be able to not want to draw it like that. So
okay.
Jorge and I have an awesome relationship with on the art front, where he's such a genius illustrator, so he handles it great. But no, I'm not precious about what it looks like. I mean, the people that I'm approaching are, to me, pros, like, sure. And I trust them 100%. So they don't need me guiding them anyway or giving notes in that front.
The brothers, what Gabriel and Fabio did, it reminds me of the old Bashki 70s cartoon wizard.
100%.
Yeah, I love it. So, and that was Mike Plug, of course, 100%. As well as Bashki.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Very cool. No, I thought it's a great story. Sarah Ferris says Middle West was the highlight of summertime read last year. Thank you for curating a wonderful, fantastical world through your writing and incredible collaboration with Jorge Corona. So there you go.
Well, thank you so much. We are very, very proud of that series, which we wrapped up, and we set out to tell an 18-issue story in 3 trades and then a hardcover, and we did just that. And man, it's the reception from that book has just blown our minds, and we really appreciate it.
Have you? I mean, honestly, Scotty, has the length of books? Do you think you found that right formula? Because a few years ago, when a lot of our friends were making long running series and stuff, right, you get to that 40 issue or 60 issue part, and it's like, is it feasible and stuff like that? Do you think 3 trades is the formula?
Well, I mean, I'm trying pretty hard to not hunt for a formula. I think what I've attempted to do, and I don't know if it's smart or not, but what I've attempted to do is just aim at what I think the story that I'm telling needs. So
sure,
Bully Wars was an interesting one, because that was always going to be, I had envisioned that much longer, but not in a linear way. It was going to be, I envisioned that longer, but in the same way that like Diary of a Wimpy Kid works, where when every volume you read is a book in its own, and it's just a part of a big, a collection of books. So that one was like, let's put this out in the world. If it does well, we've got 3 more graphic novels lined up in our heads that we can instantly go to. If it doesn't, then a 1 graphic novel works great too. Like, it doesn't feel like you didn't get a story. So each book was going to be its story. So that one ended up being, a 1-book story. And then Middle West, when we were cooking that up, we sat down and we beat out the whole book. And once we looked at it, we were like, I think this is 18. I think this is 3 trades of 6. And then we collect that in a big hardcover. If for some reason, you always have a backup plan, right? Like, if for some reason this is a disaster and we need to bail and pull the chute, we have a plan here. And if for some reason it blows up and it works, we've got an idea for another 3 that the last issue doesn't leave you hanging without getting that stuff. So there's always a plan. And then The Me You Love in the Dark, same thing. It was 5 issues. We cooked that up together right before shutdown happened. Like I literally drove out to Colorado. We cooked this up over coffee in the morning and wine at night. Over the course of a week, I came back to Kansas City, rented a Airbnb, and wrote almost the whole 5 issues in a creepy Airbnb for a week. And then shutdown happened, and we're like, "Oh, this book is weirdly timely right now." But we knew that was going to be 5 issues. That's it. Like it was intentionally told that way. There was we weren't going to follow it up. Like, again, never say never, right? Like if something's huge, we'll figure out a way. But
Sure.
that just wrapped up. We got the trade coming out of that in a month or two.
Sorry, could you?
Watch is talking to me.
Always, buddy.
But yeah, for me right now, I'm just trying to like sit down with either myself or me and a collaborator. And once the story idea hits, then we start talking about what makes sense on a time wise. I definitely, I want to tell more stories. So I'm a little hesitant to go for that whole, unless it's kind of what we do with Fairyland, which is more one and dones that are kind of strung together as a narrative. That to me, I could write that for years and years and years. As long as people are digging it, I'll do it. But like stories where there's a beginning, middle, and end, I'm a lover of endings. Like I like getting there. That's why I've been really in love with HBO's like miniseries lately. Like, we just finished Station 11, which was awesome.
Cool.
So yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm just I'm playing it by ear. Whatever the story feels like it needs, I'm trying for that right now.
Do you think, and again, one of the things I always love talking to you about is you always seem like a page or two ahead of everybody else. And truly, I mean, you and I were talking about Patreon when it was brand new.
Right.
Like that. Substack obviously is helping, but even beyond that, do you think the paradigm, I hate that word, but the business model has changed? Maybe COVID accelerated things. Maybe Substack accelerated some things.
Right.
How do you see putting creator-owned shit out there? How is it different, or what do you see happening right now?
It's interesting that right now because I've been really surprised. Like the Me You Love in the Dark, for example, surprised the hell out of us. Like, that in our industry, usually if you announce something that's a mini series, it's usually going to be ordered a little less because by the time, because retailers have to order 3 issues before anybody's read number 1. So it's hard for retailers to take a risk. I get it. Like, I mean, I don't like that system, but that's the system, right? So they have to be careful to not get too heavy on a series that people might not like. And then by the time they figured it out, they're sitting on a ton of copies of a book that ends next month, right? So we knew that was the risk we were willing to take because we thought at the end of it, this is going to be a good story. And we'll, hopefully the trade gets ended. And if worse comes to worse, I've got a company now and we'll just we'll try to sell those books like out of hand, out of our, I call it out of our backpack, but it's like our small business here. We move a lot of comics out here, and that's like, we sell original art, but we sell way more comics. Like the amount of graphic novels that we ship out a week is awesome. And I love that,
Yeah.
So that really was our plan. I was like, dude, let's try this mini series, see what happens. If it bombs, like we'll travel around the country in a van selling these things if we want, right? Like I'm down for that. And we were super surprised. This thing sold fantastic and it stayed consistent all 5 issues. Like, the thing, it's like issue 1 sells this and then it just keeps going down, right?
Right.
Well, we sold big on 1 and then we had a normal drop to 2 like everybody has, and then it never dropped.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It just stayed.
You found your audience.
We get the numbers, we were like, whoa. And so to answer your question, I don't know if that's an outlier or if retailers are realizing like maybe it's a little tougher to bank and wait on these 40 to 60 issue long running things because they're not coming out as frequently. I think, the Marvels and DCs kind of start and stop. So there's not really those at the big companies anymore outside of your Batman and Spider-Mans. And then Image, obviously, again, it's all we're all like testing the waters as we start these series because you never know. it's all of his stuff's out of our pocket. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
all these indie comics, and that's what I don't know that readers a lot of times realize. Like, these stuff's out of pocket. You know, when we have Image books, there's no bankrolling that. It's either you know, like I'm in a spot where I can bring some people on and pay them page rates so they're not, you know, starving, but you know, you're still like, that's still a risk. That money might never come back. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So I hope that it's shifting a little bit to allow everybody to kind of play around with it, you know, series length and format and stuff like that. But I still think we're still kind of in the middle of the COVID stuff because there's paper shortages that are affecting things. You know, Image had to announce that we can't go back to print, so retailers are having to make harder decisions on, you know, how they run. Creators are starting to have to make, you know, decisions on when we launch books and things like that. And they have to launch less books in a month and things like that because there's just, these printers are running out of paper, you know? So we're still in the middle of the effects of what's happened over the world the last couple of years. So I don't know if we're settling into something or we're going to watch a lot of shifting and changing coming over the years, you know?
Understood. On the bright side, what I love too is with all these collaborations that, I mean, people, you know, originally came for your art and always have, but now it's hand in hand with being able to collaborate with these other people and still feel like they're getting a Scotty Young story.
Yeah, that's been fantastic. I mean, I can't thank everybody enough for like taking the risk and trusting me to jump over and play the other role for a little while, whether or not I'm doing both the writing and the art. But you know, I think The Me You Love in the Dark and Middle West, these last couple of books were definitely books where people, I think, finally were like, I think somebody posted one day and it actually made me think, because I've not drawn an interior in 3 years. So I've not drawn the inside of a comic book in 3 years. I still do a lot of covers for the store here and at Marvel, but somebody picked up like the new Strange Academy at Marvel and The Me You Love in the Dark, and somebody was like, "Oh, you know what? It's super weird. I've followed Scotty Young his whole career, and I've officially forgot that I like his writing so much. I officially forgot he used to just draw books." Which I like and I don't like. I'm like, okay, that made me go like, okay, it's time to draw a book again. But it made me feel good that I no longer was fighting that uphill battle of like, we'll see if this is any good. He's a drawer, you know.
He's a drawer. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Because that was definitely an uphill battle at the beginning of it.
Sure.
Which is like, which is weird, right? It's like people probably don't realize Brian started off, you know, writing and drawing. I mean, at this point, Brian's had, it seems like, 1 million careers, but he wrote and drew all his books that got him to where he is, you know?
No, you're absolutely right about that. I'm putting up I'm assuming this is a variant Strange Adventures cover. We'll get it in a second. But no, you're right about that. And in fact, just like yourself, Brian is drawing Fortune and Glory Volume 2. And he even did a cover for Matthew Rosenberg. For Matthew's latest thing.
Furthest place from here, right? What's the furthest place from here? Yeah.
What's the furthest place from here? Absolutely. That was my last conversation with Matthew. So no, it's I'm glad, and also I am glad that it both inspires you to do more. But again, you made it, man, and that's what's been great, truly, Scotty. And I've always appreciated about you watching your career secondhand is you do what you want. And you've over the years gotten a lot of opportunities to do a lot of interesting big things that are more traditional with Marvel in particular. And you're like, you know something? I want to do The Wizard of Oz. And, you know, I mean, and you did it. And you and Eric did that wonderful run. Or wanting to do and really fighting for those individual stories that you got to write in, you know, annuals and various other anthologies and things like that.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to people like John Barber and Nick Lowe and the editors up there that always gave me shots when I was like, I'm a big fan of the notion of if you want something, just go ask for it, you know. And by ask for it, I mean be ready and go work for it, but ask for it, you know. When I wanted to start writing, they came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to draw this story?" I was like, "Sure, can I write it too?" And they were like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh." Then I started to learn, like, if you just ask for things, most of the time they just want stuff done. And I feel like at that point, I had drawn 100 some comics. I feel that they were like, you probably have some storytelling instincts in you. And we have a lot of conversations, and I would give a lot of notes in the stories that I was drawing because I felt just as invested as anybody. I'm putting more hours into that issue than anybody. So I'm thinking about story a lot. So yeah, it's been fun to find what my path was over the years and find my comfort zone and, get to a place where I was comfortable telling stories without having to be the lead, which obviously I see Ramon here has jumped up. I love this dude, man. That dude is
dude. Ramon Perez, absolutely proud to have been part of that first writing gig for the win. So was that Human Torch or what was that?
He did. He came on with me. I reached out to him. I was doing it was Deadpool team up back and this is way before the movies. This was God, Rona probably remind us. It's probably 2010, maybe 2009, 2010. I was writing a couple issues of Deadpool team up, or a issue of Deadpool team up, and it was with Galactus and Deadpool, and it was and I came up with the idea to have Deadpool be Galactus's herald. He literally was looking for a job. He was like all the Merc jobs were taken, and he found Harold wanted, and replied to it, and he had a dope like Rat Fink style surfboard that he rode, and eventually Galactus got so tired of hearing him talk that he fired him. But him and then we have a big burly. But anyway, I came up with that idea, and I reached out to Ramon, who had been a friend of mine for years at that point, and one of my favorite cartoonists of all time, Ramon Perez. I think it was currently working on or just get ready to start the Tale of Sand book.
Sure. Oh my God.
He was showing me pages of that, like the first pages as he just started. And I remember telling him, I think he had like 3 pages done. And I was like, you understand, you're going to win every single award our industry's ever offered to a human, right? Like, and flash forward a year and a half, 2 years later, it was not wrong. He won 100%. That book took home all the awards because it's just an amazing, amazing thing he adapted there. But yeah, man, I love you, Ramon. I appreciate it, buddy.
That's awesome. I was searching for that Ramon cover for Galactus. I'll put it up later, everybody.
Yeah, I think I did the cover for that one. So yeah, if you looked up just like Scotty and Deadpool Galactus, it'll pop up.
There you go. And Ramon says still one of the favorite things I've drawn for Marvel and a solid opportunity for me. Thank you. Yes. And we are all yes, indeed.
That's true, Ramon.
No. But yeah. And Ramon, I know I say it every time I see him. Got to come back on Word Balloon. It's all my fault that I haven't had him on sooner. So, but now I'm doing a shit ton of episodes every month, so there's no excuse. Right. So I'll be in touch, man. He's great. And truly, man. Well, and back in the day, loved your Rocket Raccoon series. Thought that was a lot of fun.
Thank you, man. I had so much fun on that. And that was another one of those zigged where they wanted me to zag because they wanted Buckley and Joe and CB had called me, and Brian had just launched Guardians of the Galaxy. This is again before the movie. He had launched Guardians of the Galaxy with McNiven and then Pacelli.
Okay. Yeah.
They were teaming up on that, and Joe Q was like, "Hey, Brian would give an arm if you came on and did a run on Guardians of the Galaxy." And I was like, well, I love Brian, and Brian and I talked about working together all the time, but I was like, I'm not gonna follow Steve McNiven, and that's crazy. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, people would hate me. Like, and I just spent 6 years drawing Wizard of Oz style. I was like, I don't even know how to draw. I don't even know how to draw that way anymore. Like, I literally was in like weird cartoon land for 6 years, so I needed like a transition. I was like, I don't feel comfortable jumping on after Pacelli, McNiven and Pacelli. It just feels strange. I feel wrong. And I was proud to kind of hit a maturity level where I was like, man, what an opportunity, like financially, what an opportunity, what a good big stage, and what a huge collaborator to work with.
Sure.
Not just a friend, but one of the biggest writers in comics. But I understood I knew that I was not the right person for that job, despite having worked myself to a place to get offered it, and that's what I was like. I did want to start writing my own stuff. So that's when I just pitched, like, what if you're not far off though. What if I just took the two wacky characters from that run that really fit me, and I do that, and then they were like, oh, that's not a bad idea. And, I think we ended up selling like 400,000 copies of issue number 1 of that. So that was, and then by the time I finally started and got done, then the movie was just getting ready. We launched Rocket Raccoon number 1 and the movie came out the same day. So I was like, again, there's so many instances of me in the right time, right place where I just accidentally backed into a thing. That was one of the top ones.
But of course, and again, you had no control over that. But as we know, luck is when opportunity and preparation meet.
100%. I say that all the time.
I love, Dan Jiggets, the old Chicago Bear.
Yeah.
The guy who turned me on to that.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. And it's become a mantra. And it's certainly been, again, I always feel this kinship with you, Scotty, and Norton and Seeley, and all you guys that were hanging around when I was getting started with Word Balloon and everything. And I'm making podcasts, you guys are making comics, but it's true, and it's like we kind of follow the same instincts in terms of how we do things and how we try to do things.
Yeah, it was this. I liked that whole our whole Chicago squad. You guys, the Run Comics guys, all the like you said, Norton and Seeley and that whole squad. And Sean Dove and Brian and everybody, like,
even really Patrick cool. and Dell at challenges and stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. We were all just kind of weirdo grinders that was like, you know what I mean? Like, we had to really find our way because we were never going to be the guys.
Nope.
What the goal became was like, well, how can we turn what we do into being the guy? Like, let's move the target to what the guy is. Or the person, I should say. The person.
Right,
and
the person.
Sure. We moved the target a little bit to where we're not chasing this goal, but we just moved the goalpost a little bit, and it was fun. It was those days where I miss those Chicago days a lot.
Well, I hear you, man, and we miss you. And and also it was like narrow casting. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you don't need to write, and to put it in comic book terms, you don't need to write or draw Superman or Batman. Let me do this thing in this corner, right, and I'll get enough of a gathering that it'll work and people will watch back. And that
we came in 100%. I mean, I think it was 2009, maybe 2008 or 9 when I read that Wired article, the 1,000 True Fans, that whole theory.
Yes,
that changed my whole life. Like realizing, like, oh, you know what? I don't need to be on the biggest stage on the planet and have a billion friends or a billion readers and give huge chunks of that to all the people that help that are controlling me there. I could come down to this little small stage and it might be a lot less people, but these people are down. You know what I mean? And that was the whole concept of that. And I loved that. And that's kind of the whole theory and like my mentality that I've been kind of striving for since, which is like, let's do some weirdo stuff and find our like cool weirdos that we're all going to party together, and then we'll just all support each other and make it work. And it seems to be, that's what's happening so far, which we'll see if we can keep it going for another 20 years or so.
As we talked about Deadpool team up here, here's the Ramon stuff.
Yeah, there it was. The interior, like I drew that Deadpool on a surfboard, but man, when you see Ramon's like dope giant engine, Rat Fink car engine on the back of that, it's so good.
And then I like this cover too of the Watcher in Deadpool.
Just the Watcher. Watcher's such a creepy character.
Hey, DC never expressed an interest, or you've never had the time, or
no. There was one time. No, they have. I mean, they come to me. They come every now and then, and we do some talking, and then we go back to Marvel and do some talk. I mean, Marvel's my family, man. Like these, I've been there 21 straight years. You know what I mean? Like 21 years I've been working at Marvel. So, I've grown up with a lot of these people, so when we on the business side, it always gets weird when you got to start going to your, people who have like been your friend for 20 years and now you got to, but we have lawyers and official people who do that now. So it's a lot less uncomfortable when you're talking about that stuff. But no, there's definitely been DC talk and that door's never shut. Like I don't shut any doors. It just comes down to like what's going on at the time that things pop off. I got really close some years back where the Black Label stuff was not launched yet. They were just cooking that up. It got really close to going over there and doing a project that I was really, really into. But then all of a sudden I got offered to come back because I took a little bit of a pause on interior stuff to do Fairyland for a while. And then I got the offer to come on and write a run on Deadpool. And I was like, oh, so I re-signed a contract at Marvel and did Deadpool for, a couple of years and then wrote that for a little while. And then, so yeah, the door's not shut, but every time that any talks that I've had I just end up being back at home for a little bit.
That's cool. Have you ever professionally done variant covers or anything for DC?
Not yet. It's weird. It's a weird place now because there's a gray area that I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Marvel or something about it because right now I'm Marvel exclusive, but my company's also official. I have a retail account. Super Fresh Mess is a retailer technically, so that's how we're able to do exclusive covers at Marvel and Image and wherever we want. So technically, my company's not exclusive, so I could, but that's all like weird business stuff that.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to piss off your collaborators.
Yeah, right.
So,
we'll see what the coming years have to offer.
Okay, excellent. Nerdette is joining us, and that's cool. Good to see you, Nerdette. Fine YouTuber in her own right. Absolutely. I want to ask and get into back in the day, 20 plus years ago, when you were doing Human Torch with Carl Kessel and everything. Right. I've talked to Joe about that early period. I've talked to Brian about that earlier period, but I really haven't asked you. And that was really like a massive big break, obviously.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, tell me what it was like under Jemison Quesada back then.
It definitely. So yeah, I came in. It was the height of the Jemis Joe Q era, which I really dug. I mean, Joe Quesada is such a fan of artists, and that was a really interesting period because they were trying to figure a lot of things out and taking some risks. Manga was like the manga industry was storming America, and it was taking over bookshelf space, like in bookstores, hardcore, right? Just huge. So of course, they're going to try to figure that out here as well. The weird thing was they pretty much thought that if anybody had even a remotely cartoony style, they just considered that manga, which is weird because I never really read manga at all. I didn't really watch anime. I was much more of a hip hop graffiti kid and a skateboard culture kid. So that's a lot of where my art instincts came from, was just a lot of like skateboard stickers and graffiti art and stuff like that. But it was cool because they were just trying stuff. And I mean, they were giving big opportunities to at the time I was 24 years old and hadn't really drawn comics that much, but kind of like took risks with wacky styles. And they're handing me, they took, I did a Spider-Man miniseries, the Mangaverse Spider-Man miniseries. And they took me off that early to come and launch Human Torch. And that was a huge initiative. Like they were doing, I remember when that got solicited, Joe Quesada wrote a big letter in previews talking about that, the whole like tsunami line that they were doing. And he talked about the Human Torch. And he was like, if you guys aren't even ready for the future superstar. This is like 2002. And he's like, you guys aren't ready for the future superstar, Scotty Young or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like not ready to be called, not ready for that level of pressure. You know what I mean? Like barely still figuring out how to draw necks. You know what I mean? Like I still remember why did I draw that neck so long? Fuck, I'm grabbing a cover that'll show that example in a good way, Scotty. You know it. I mean, honestly, man, like I know better. Like I remember just like every day I sat at the drawing table back then, like it was like a brand new, like I'm just like everything I drew back then was the first time I'm drawing it. So I'm like learning how to make comics on the biggest stage ever. And so for me, I was less focused on the crazy energy that was happening up there. And I'm so new that, but it was fun times. It definitely was wacky. It moved fast. And like Avi Ared would like, because there was like movies and Avi had a little influence back then.
100%. Yeah.
So like storylines would get weird notes, like Human Torch. We did have a Human Torch note that happened. I can't remember. Anyway, it was a cool time. I mean, I loved it because I grew up as I was a big fan of Joe. So, just becoming friends with somebody that I just admired so much was really cool for me. I never got to know Jemis that well. Joe was always my touchstone of there. And again, Joe was much more the artist guy. And Jemis was kind of the bigger business guy. So over the years, it wasn't until Buckley was around again that, I became really close with Dan and Joe, and obviously CB and I have known each other since before we were both at Marvel. So, but yeah, it was a fun time. It was fun to watch all the chances that were taken back then. It was really crazy, and I'm sure Brian, like you said, Brian's has all the stories from that time because that's when he was coming in swinging, kicking ass all over the place.
100%. Yeah, no. And truly, I've had Joe lately, and every time I've had him in recent years, it's like, all right, let's talk more about that beginning, and also even the pre-Jemis era, the Marvel Knight era, and everything too. And it's like, because that's really interesting, and now there's a lot of perspective. So I'm sorry, did you have a comment about that? Or?
No. I'm just listening to you. I was just agreeing. Yeah.
As your art evolved, was everyone on board and like, okay, this is how Scotty draws now compared to, I mean, it's not that major. Well, I don't know. Do you think it was, obviously it's been 20 years.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's definitely a major shift for sure. Well, I actually learned how to draw. So that's good. That's a good thing. It's like, it's like being a drummer, not knowing how to drum, but eventually you're like, oh shit, I think I figured it out. Shit. No, I mean, like anything, the cool thing about comics and the people that work in comics is like we're all about evolution. We're all about getting better, and we're all about changing. So nobody's locking in and going like, oh, well, we hired you right here, and you better not move from this space. Unless I'm doing something really off the wall. But I've never had any pushback at Marvel. Really, just the opposite. Like, oh man, this is really cool. I mean, I've switched up styles in the middle of a run like a dummy, like just being like, you know what? I don't want to do this clean, like dead line style anymore. I want to get wacky with my inks and scratchy with it. And which, you were there front row for a lot of that shift because you came to our drawing nights, our drink and draws every week with us and hung with us. And that's really where my biggest style shift happened, was at those drawing nights. Because before then I inked with like a dead pen, like, the microns, and there was really no line weights, and any line weights I would add, I would build them up. And, so it was really just more animated style. And then I had this brush pen, which I still freaking use to this day. It's this pen. I got this and started practicing with it at drawing night to try to ink like Tim Townsend and be really clean and precise. And I would just fuck it up. Like I would fuck up the drawing, and instead of just letting the drawing be half done, I'd scribble my way through the rest of it. And I really started to like the weird sketchy halves of these messed up drawings, and then just kind of leaned into that. And that, and what that did was it reminded me of where I came from. It reminded me of coming from the Jack Davis school and the Calvin and Hobbes school and the Mad Magazine. That's where I came from before I even knew what superheroes were. And so then reminding myself, I was learning too much from the pages of comic books in my early comic book years. In my later comic book years, I let that go, and I went back to where I came from in the first place, which was monthly Mad Magazine subscription, Sunday comics. And then you realize, man, the cartooning here, the suggestion of lines, not the literal interpretation of shapes, but the suggestion of that happens in cartooning, looking at Jack Davis and realizing, man, he's sloppy. Like his lines are so energetic, but they're so energetic because they're not perfect. And embracing that just made me better and faster. But
sure,
because I'm less concerned over the years. And I talk about this with my friend Kyle Strom, who I have a new image book coming out with this summer.
Great.
summer as well called Twig. But Kyle Strom and I talk about this a lot, which is I let go of the idea of needing to impress you with a good drawing. I just want you to feel something from the narrative, whether it's one single drawing or a comic. I want the drawings to convey a narrative and make you feel something, whether you laugh or sad or happy or whatever. I could care less if you think I draw good knuckles. I don't care. Like it's not where my head is anymore, which has made me have more fun drawing, weirdly enough, because it's just about energy and emotion and conveying that.
Understood. You got time for a couple questions?
Yeah, we can do a couple questions for sure.
All right, excellent. Josh wants to know, what was your very first Marvel cover?
Well, I mean, my first Marvel cover was actually so I got hired on to do Spider-Man Legend of the Spider Clan, which is like a 5-issue ninja Spider-Man story. So I got hired on to do that, but while Kari Andrews was writing that, they had me do a short story in X-Men Unlimited.
Okay.
Wait, did I do the cover for that? No, I didn't. I'm lying. I think my first Marvel cover may have been the first issue of Legend of the Spider Clan, like Spider-Man Legend of the Spider Clan. That was my first Marvel cover. My first baby cover was something else. That's a whole nother situation. But yeah, I want to say that. I could be wrong, but I think that was my first cover, the Spider-Man Legend of the Spider Clan.
How was it working with Kari? I love talking to Kari.
Oh, it was really cool. Like, at the time, I mean, we're not that far apart in age, and we clearly like the same stuff. And he is so freaking talented. And he had done the one shot that when they did the Mangaverse, and they just did one shots of all these different books, and he had drawn that, and that one was successful. And so they wanted to bring him on they wanted him to do a mini series, and I think he just wanted to write it. He was doing some other stuff and didn't want to draw it, or was too busy to draw it. So that's when CB suggested me to draw it with him, and yeah, that's where we became friends. I really dug it. I mean, I didn't actually know him that well while we were working on the book, but it's like as we worked on it, I went to Canada I went to Vancouver for like a mini show, and he just hung out with me the whole time, and we've been great friends ever since. So we've been that brought us together. So I'll never forget that. Yeah, that's it. I think that was probably my first published Marvel cover.
That's
I had
awesome.
done some interiors, I had done one short story in an X-Men Unlimited book before that, but this was the first, my first cover, I think.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, again, everybody that's only listening and not watching,
Yeah,
why you got to check out YouTube or however I put out the video episodes as well.
Right.
Let's see. The Bugle Daily wants to know, what are your thoughts on comics glorifying the dastardly Spider Menace?
This is like a, you know what? I love it. Love the Spider Menace.
And I guess follows up with why would you do stories portraying the Spider Menace as a hero? Unacceptable.
I love the lean in. Because I like to shake things up and rock boats. I probably should have a better spider metaphor, but I don't have one.
There you go. There's your quotes, Bugle Daily, if you choose to use them. Don Gomez, how do you plan your pages? Do you plan out the panel grids first or the actual scenes?
I go through and it's kind of all the same. So once I write the script, and I write full scripts even for myself. So it's full, like page 1, panel 1, blah, 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 dialogue, all of it. And then once I have that, I take a little, it's digital now. My thumbnails are, but just about a little rectangle about that big, and look at find which panel needs to be the big one, like what's the important panel of that page. And then I block it out with the panels, and then go in and do kind of stick figure renditions of basically just, it's, camera blocking is what they'd call it in movies, just setting up where the characters will be. And then I'll deal with everything later. But at that point, it's just really like, here's a couple of shapes that give me a quick visual note of what I'm going to plan.
Understood. And really, like, was it again that analysis of old comic strips and Mad where your storytelling came from?
I'll be honest. The storytelling started to come from honestly movies. I realized I wasn't understanding as I was just flipping through comics at the beginning of my career, trying to just copy what other people were doing, layout wise, I realized I wasn't understanding why I was making any of these choices. And this so happened to coincide with kind of the rise of the DVD and the DVD special features, which, back then every DVD had multiple audio commentaries on it, huge making of documentaries. And another thing, the Disney Art of books, they still make them now, but they're not near as comprehensive as they used to be. The Milan book is this giant hardcover, and they talk so much about visual framing and composition for film frame. And this is perfect because it's for movies, but it's also people drawing them and figuring out that have to make that up. So
Yeah.
Those books and the special features on DVDs would just be playing in my studio all the time. And so I got to listen to directors talk about what worked, what didn't work, what they wanted to happen, why it didn't happen, why they made these choices, why this choice was a bad choice in hindsight, all these kind of things that you don't pick up on when you're just flipping through your favorite comic book artists. They probably know why they're doing it, but I didn't know why. And so a lot of my staging and thought process came through kind of just listening to that stuff while I drew.
You'll forgive the name dropping, but Phil Jimenez and Kelly Sue and I are going to go through that first issue of the Wonder Woman Black Label thing that they're doing next week. In fact, awesome. a week from tomorrow. So that's great. And I'm so with you on DVD commentaries. My buddy Rob Burnett used to produce a shit ton of them.
Right.
Even for the Lord of the Rings movies and the X-Men movies, the Singer X-Men movies and stuff like that, among other things. And it's a shame that it's rarer now on physical media to get that stuff. And it pisses me off.
I know. I've been excited. It's rare on physical media. So a lot of the digital stuff has made it through if they used to do it, but fewer and fewer movies and people are doing new documentaries because it's just going to iTunes or streaming. Right. And I do miss that. Like I miss, the 2-hour making of Disney's Atlantis. I mean, come on. I watched that thing 150 times, like it's so good. And it, of course, Ridley Scott always does a 5-hour situation, which is between Blade Runner and Aliens. I've watched those making of so many, because I think the Blade Runner is almost 4 hours, like 3.5 hours. It's so good.
I'm working on a project that I was telling you about off the air, and I'll eventually reveal it to everybody. But it involves the great filmmaker Bob Rafelson, and I've bought several DVDs and Blu-rays specifically for the commentaries.
That's really cool.
I mean, I love the movies.
I'm going to give you a thing that you've already planned on doing this, but with what you're talking about, I had backed. Do you remember that documentary Stripped? That the Dave Kellett and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they kickstarted a documentary about comic strips and web comics.
Go on.
And they interviewed Jim Davis. They interview all the awesome Pastis, who does Pearls Before Swan. So all the modern day cartoonists, and then a lot of the digital web comics got people, 5 or 6 years ago. But the cool thing that I got from backing it versus just watching on Netflix or buying it on iTunes was you got access to the full interviews of everybody on the documentary, which was awesome. So, I mean, in the documentary, Jim Davis is on there for 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. I got to watch an hour and a half talk with Jim Davis. Which I know everybody clowns on Garfield, which I don't appreciate. Like, I think, we all fucking loved Garfield. Everybody needs to not get twisted.
The strip is awesome. It's just the movies suck. That's all.
The movies suck. But the movies suck of all the things we love.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Jim Davis, for some reason, became the target of like comic strip because it was like, oh,
that's funny.
Whatever, right? And I'm like, he took a fucking cat and created a fucking industry out of it. You know what I mean? This dude has like a fucking bunker in Muncie, Indiana, right?
I didn't know he was that local. Go on.
Yeah, he's that's where All Yeah is, right? All Yeah Comics.
Yeah, the third store, Christie's store. Yes, he's in Muncie.
Yeah, outside he has a huge fucking compound, and that's like where everything happens. You know, he just has an army of people. Anyway,
That's awesome.
You learn that from this interview and all the other interviews that they do. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like I love these things that teach me not, you know, I mean, hell, listening to that is half the reason I have a company now. You know what I mean? Where I've got a shipping department and like employees doing shit. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like
I do know,
because I sit there and I watch Jim Davis talk about like the evolution of these things. And I'm like, man, I got to figure out something, you know, like at some point this hand isn't going to work as well as it did 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Do you have that comic book artist Will Eisner thing that has all the audio interviews he did for Shop Talk, that back matter that used to be in the Spirit Quarterly? No. Oh, you got to grab that.
I got to find that.
Because as Bendis points out, he's like, it figures Will Eisner invented the podcast. And there are these great cassette recording interviews that he did with Jack Kirby and Milton Caniff.
See, I'd love that because one of my favorite books, I mean, a book that I've read a lot is the one which is just the chat between him and Frank Miller. I think it's just called Will and Frank or something, right?
Eisner Miller. Yeah, it's called Eisner Miller.
Yeah, it's just a conversation between these two people. And again, as somebody who's not just interested in the craft of sitting at the table and putting lines on paper, like I love hearing people talk about the theory of things and you know the business of it. And that's a really interesting book. I could just listen and read shit like that all day.
All right, two more questions, dude. One is how did you get hooked up with Hot Wheels for Leadfoot? So did you design a car?
I designed two figure. So back in the early 2000s, me and Mark Brooks and John Salariva and a handful of other people, we created a site called Lead Heavy, ledheavy.com. And it was like a virtual art studio. We kind of pretended that we were like bigger than we were. And which is funny because we were all nobodies and just kids on message boards. And now everybody of that group is like a major player in comics, right? Sean Murphy, Sean Galloway, Kari Randolph, Greg Titus. Like everybody has
Greg Titus, awesome.
Yeah, Titus. Right? So anyway, back then there was just a dude who was kind of like a fan, and he worked at Mattel. And this is at the beginning of the vinyl toy craze. You know, where vinyl, like limited edition vinyls were getting big. So this dude had pitched and got a thing off the ground at Hot Wheels where he wanted to do vinyl figures and then have a really funky, like, you know, crazy designed vinyl car with metal wheels, like, you know, and because it was called, like, he was coming to us, the Lead Heavy guys, he was like, we'll call it Leadfoots, and it was like metal feet or whatever. But I designed two of the figures, and I didn't design the cars. They had another guy that was amazing at designing cars, but they were like boxed up. Like it was not a success. Like it did not. We did that one round of it, and in fact, they ended up sending cases of it to me. Like once like all the remainders. Like once it, you know, but it was cool though. It was at Walmart. You know, it was in stores, and they had like variant paints on it and stuff like that.
All right, I'm finding an image. I don't know if this is one of yours, but I'm going to put it up, and you'll tell me if it's not yours or not. But in a second, it'll take a second.
It was really fun. It was definitely a fun project. And again, it was so early in my career that I was so excited to be designing toys, you know?
Well, this is why I'm so glad that people are like suggesting and want to talk about this stuff. Is this you?
That is, yep. I designed.
Hilarious.
Yep. Yep. And it came with a pick that you could stick in his hair.
Nice.
Yeah.
And also appropriate that he has a turntable. So he's mixing while he's driving, I'm sure.
It came with a turntable, and he had 4-finger rings that and it has like a little car tire on his gold chain. Yeah. Yes. And so that, and again, I designed the character. They designed the car, or somebody designed the car, but yeah, that was I think it's awesome that somebody has been around, has been following me long enough to remember that. That's crazy.
100%.
That's a very long time ago.
I don't know if you did this because I know you are, or I'm assuming you're a toy guy as well as a cartoonist and stuff. During COVID, not necessarily what was represented by the Leadfoots,
right?
But I've been so jonesing for classic Hot Wheel and Matchbox size cars.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Well, when I was a kid, the Corgi cars
Right.
were a big deal. And I had the Green Hornet car and the Batmobile and the Bond, Aston Martin and everything. My
Right.
dad would like come home from a trip and like at the airport buy a Corgi car and give it to
Right.
me. So those are really fucking expensive.
Well, I'm sure, I didn't get into that, but I did. My buddy Kyle Strom, who is doing the Twig book with me,
Yeah.
got me this for Christmas last year because we talked about favorite toys that we got for Christmas. And he found one of the original Inspector Gadget.
Sure.
Look at this shit. It's like a full styrofoam brick.
That's outstanding.
So it's like this was just one action figure. It came in a like huge.
Oh, wow.
So this is all the shit he can do, right?
Yeah.
And I had this when I was a kid and loved it. And then we were just talking about kind of like what we're doing now is like just naming toys. And then he remembered that and had got that for me for Christmas.
Well, Josh says he collects everything you do.
Well, thank you, Josh.
So he's a completist, clearly. So yeah, and Ramon is obviously oohing and eyeing over the Inspector Gadget.
We remember that shit like it's yesterday.
And it's funny because you guys all did you do Devil's Due before you did Marvel? I don't know because
I didn't never work there. I just met those guys.
Okay, because I was.
Yeah, I you know what's funny? I did send off when I was trying to figure out what to do and break in. I didn't realize Devil Due was so new. But I sent, and I didn't realize like Blaylock was my age and shit, So I think I sent him off an email like they're like he's a massive company, like trying to get a job. But no, I didn't. I didn't work for them. I did some covers for them later.
Okay.
And at one point, Josh and I were cooking up a couple different like partnership things, but it never came to fruition.
Sure. What was I going to say? Just like Devil's Due, well, the fact that Devil's Due did the tiny GI Joes and stuff like that. I was a full size GI Joe guy.
Right.
And if I had money to burn, like your Inspector Gadget,
right,
I'd be buying all those replica new Joes and
for
stuff.
real,
like that.
for real.
Yeah. So no, I'm with you. That's hilarious. As always, dude, hilarious conversation, and I love where it's gone. Before we go, tell me that whatever you can about the Kyle Hotza thing.
So it's called Twig. It's with Kyle Strom.
Or probably Kyle Strom. I apologize.
Kyle Strom, who did Unearthed he co-wrote with Cullen Bunn on Unearthed, and then drew Spread, which was an Image comic book a couple years back. And it is like, well, Kyle always Kyle always draws these crazy, awesome little critters in his sketchbook, and I'm always like, man, these are like creepy, weird Henson characters. Like it's like if Fraggle Rock was scary, right? Like, and he's always drawing those. But then the books he was drawing was like, here's people and grown up horror movie stuff. And one day we were over at our friend's house for their kid's birthday, and it's just he and I out on the porch, and I was like, man, like somebody needs to write like a cool like critter book for you. I was like, we should maybe do that together. And he was like, let's do it. So we literally just like started throwing around concepts for like I said, like a creepy somewhere between Dark Crystal and Jeff Smith's Bone and quest books and things like that. And that's really what we've cooked up. It's like a really cool little 5-issue mini series adventure with this little furry critter and some pretty creepy beings out in the world. And I grew up with Neverending Story and the Dark Crystal,
sure,
and Labyrinth.
Yeah.
These were my favorite things growing up. So any chance I can to just kind of pay homage to that through story and imagination, it is. So this is really like our love letter to that era of our childhood. And that, like I said, that should be out. We'll probably be solicited very soon. I know our editors been hitting us up for a lot of stuff for issue 2. So I know issue 1 is probably going to be solicited soon. So I think that's going to be out in May. Don't quote me on that yet, but I think it's going to be out in May. But look for more news on that. And you could probably, anybody who out there is interested, we put a preview of it in the back of issue 5 of Me You Love in the Dark, so you can get a little sense of what it looks like now. But it's great. And Jean-Francois Bilot's on coloring it, like he's colored everything I've been involved in. And Nate Picos is lettering it, and of course he's a genius of lettering. So we've got the team crushing it on that book.
Excellent, man. And me and you love in the dark. That the trade comes out in April.
The trade, I think it's April. Yeah, we wanted to take a couple months off, let people soak in the singles for a little bit, and take a break from it. So I think it's April. Yeah, it's going to be a really nice little collection.
And then once again, the name of your Substack.
It's Stupid Fresh Mess, but just go to ScottyYoung.com or ScottyYoung.substack.com. You can sign up there for free. Go to ScottyYoung.com, sign up for either one.
That's excellent. You'll get Untold Tales of Fairyland there.
Yep.
And then soon, at some point in 2022.
Fairyland and news on all that. Like we send out about 2-3 posts a week. So you're always going to be up to date on whatever we're doing, and come join us on live streams and all that.
You're killing it, dude. And I'm so happy for you, truly. And Josh says Kyle had the preview for Twig at Planet Comic.
Yes, that is true. Yep.
So awesome. Very cool. Hey, man, as always, I'm
Thank
so
you, John.
proud of you. And
to you, man. I always love talking to you, man.
I feel this. I feel the same way.
Absolutely.
My best to Casey.
Yep.
And I hope she'll be playing her guitar on a Substack video.
You know what, we're going to get her to. It's been too long. So, yes, we're going to get her on there.
And the best of the boys. They're doing all right.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, they're driving me nuts. That's what I'm getting ready to go do right now is go cook those knuckleheads dinner.
Well, that's what I mean. And no, I appreciate you sticking around because and talking beyond the hour and everything.
Oh, so yeah, no problem at all, man. No, but it was my fault. I clicked on the wrong link for a little bit. I sat in an empty waiting room.
Well, we found each other. We had a great talk.
Yeah, man.
As always, buddy, all the best. And everybody stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. Thanks for watching today.